What I'm going to talk about today, and I thought this is the right forum, not only because this is an institution which has produced some of the great alumni. Like many of you, I'm also a fan of Medadi, and an institution that has produced people like her, students like her. That institution surely deserves to share more than just academic gossip. Also because the lecture has been organized not by institution formally, but by the students. That gives me even more freedom. In this country these days, when you go to an institution, you really have to check whether you can speak what you really want to speak. So thank you. This is one of the places in the country where you can still speak what you really want to speak. And that's what I'm going to do now. No editing, no censoring. Not that I censor myself very much. But in formal academic institutions, sometimes one has to be a little extra mindful of the protocols. I'm glad I don't have to do that now. What I really want to speak to you about is a danger, not just to democracy, which I must have had in mind when I accepted the topic, but to the very republic, or to the very idea of India. Today, what we face in this country is nothing short of an onslaught on the foundations of this republic. I'm going to speak to you not only about what the danger is. Many of you know this. I won't end up saying something very original. And there's no point beyond an extent of simply saying what's wrong, how rotten the situation is. Punjabi has a word that captures it best. They call it syapa. You know, mar gaye, lut gaye, hi, kya ho gaya. You know, there's no point doing that. I find it cowardly to do so. So, I'll quickly pass on then to talk about why we are where we are. What is really the nature of the danger? There's something very deep underlying here. This is not just a bad accident that has happened to our country. We're dealing with something much deeper. All right, that's analysis, causality, social science. Don't we all do social science? But then I would remember the most famous social scientist of 19th century, Karl Marx, who said the point, however, is to change it. So I'll remember thesis 11, and I'll then say, what can be done about it? And that's what I'm concerned about. What is to be done? Incidentally, this is the title of an essay I wrote about 2 months ago. This is in the magazine called Seminar, November issue. And much of what I have to say here today is there. Now don't walk out. I'll probably be more entertaining than an article. You can read it later. But those of you who get slightly interested, I hope I would have a few hits on that article this evening, where you can actually read it in a somewhat terse academic language as to what I have to say. Why do I think there is an attack on the very idea of India? To my mind, the idea of India has three components. लोग कहते हैं आमतौर पे कि भारत गणराज्य ये वो 5000 साल बहुत कुछ है 5000 साल में, लेकिन मैं हिंदुस्तान को आज के भारत को समझता हूं कि इसके 3 स्तंभ हैं, 3 पिलर्स हैं हिंदुस्तान के, और वो तीनों बहुत मॉडर्न हैं. First, the idea of democracy. We did not invent the idea of democracy. And to say that it's coming straight from literally Ganatantra is all nonsense. We borrowed it. But we were the first country in the world that democratized the idea of democracy. That democracy could be practiced in conditions of illiteracy among very poor was an idea unknown to the world. It's only when democracy functioned in India that we could convince the world that democracy could indeed be globalized. That idea of democracy. Second, diversity. We are not the only diverse country in the world. We are not the only place where diversity has existed or continues to exist. Diversity is the norm. Anything other than diversity is an aberration in nature and anywhere else. And it has existed everywhere. But we were the first nation state in the world to embrace diversity. Because in European history, they thought that nation states need internal cultural homogeneity. One nation, one culture, one religion, one race, one language. This is the history of European nations. That you could have a nation state called India with such deep diversities was unthinkable 70 years ago. That it would survive was not something anyone believed. We made it possible to think about it. In that sense, diversity is that second pillar on which India stands. And the third is development. Not development per se. This is not a word we coined, and not something we've practiced. But the idea that development should be measured from the standpoint of the last person. As Gandhi ji said, think of the weakest person you've ever met in your life and try and imagine, would this thing benefit her or him or not? The idea that development should be measured, should mean development of the last person, is something that we have contributed. We have not practiced it one bit, let's be honest. But these are the three pillars on which the republic called India stands. आज अगर हिंदुस्तानी होने में कोई गर्व करने की बात है, और मैं महसूस करता हूं कि गर्व होने की बात है, तो उसमें हिंदुस्तानी होने में गर्व ये होना चाहिए कि ये तीन विचार हैं जो हमने दुनिया को दिए। जिसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हिंदुस्तान में पैदा हो कि हमने कोई कमाल का काम कर लिया है, लेकिन और ये जरूर हो सकता है कि बहुत लोग जो हिंदुस्तान में पैदा नहीं हुए हैं वो हमसे ज्यादा हिंदुस्तानी हैं। मेरे लिए नेल्सन मंडेला कहीं ज्यादा हिंदुस्तानी है, फैज ज्यादा हिंदुस्तानी है। इन लोगों ने उस आइडियाज को कहीं बेहतर प्रैक्टिस किया। But these three pillars constitute the very foundations of our republic. Today, all the three pillars are under attack. आज इस देश में जो खतरा है वो ये कि हमारे संविधान की, हमारे गणतंत्र की ये जो तीन नींव हैं, तीन बुनियाद हैं, तीन स्तंभ हैं, तीनों पे हमला हो रहा है। ये पहली बार नहीं है कि हमला हुआ। Emergency was an onslaught on democracy in this country. मैं तब बहुत छोटा था। आप में से कुछ लोगों को याद होगा, हमारे बीच दामजी भाई बैठे हैं, ऐसे वरिष्ठ लोग जिन्होंने वो वक्त भी देखा था। आज हम जितनी भी सुंदर कहानियां इमरजेंसी के बारे में कह लें, ऑफ पॉपुलर स्ट्रगल अगेंस्ट इमरजेंसी, सच बात यह है कि सब बिछे हुए पड़े थे जमीन पे, सब झुक गए थे। और जैसा किसी ने कहा था, when people were asked to bend, they started crawling. This is the reality of emergency. So don't be surprised by what you see on television channels every evening. This happened during emergency. Everyone was crawling. Judiciary had given in. Some of the finest judges of this country were complicit in accepting emergency. Justice Bhagwati, Justice Chandrachud, some of the finest judges of this country, they had given a shameful judgment called the Jabalpur case, if you remember, which actually said all human rights can be suspended during emergency, and that's all right. Both of them were dignified enough to apologize later on. But that had happened. So this country has seen earlier onslaughts, and we've come out. Remember both the things. Remember that we've gone through this, and remember that we've come out of it. Both the lessons are worth remembering. So we've seen onslaughts. What is special about the current onslaught? We've seen other onslaughts as well. 1984, massacre of Sikhs. This was an onslaught on the idea of diversity that India had embraced. 2002, Gujarat, an onslaught again on the foundations of our republic. The idea of development for the last person, I think it's only reasonable to say that we've seen onslaughts on that idea every single day of the last 70 years. तो पहली बार नहीं हो रहा कि हमारे pillars पे attack हो रहा है. But there's something very special and sinister about what's happening now. What is sinister is this, that for the first time, all the three pillars are being attacked simultaneously. Emergency में एक पे attack था, 1984 में दूसरे पे attack था. तीनों पे एक साथ हमला, इतना विगरस हमला, और ऐसा हमला जिसमें देश की जनता के बड़े हिस्से को शामिल किया गया है, वो पहली बार. So in that sense, this is not merely a challenge to Indian democracy. It's not only a challenge to Indian nationalism. This is truly a challenge to all the foundations of our republic. A lot has happened already. All of us read newspapers. जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में हो रहा है आप देख रहे हैं. पहली बार इस देश के इतिहास में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 4 जजेस ने आके बाहर कुछ बोला. और ये मत सोचिएगा कि वो कह रहे थे कि चीफ जस्टिस कुछ गड़बड़ कर रहा है. Please, that's not about it. It's not about 4 judges versus the CJI of India. They were saying something else. If you think that your senior colleague is misbehaving, if you think he's not following protocols, you don't come out and say, we don't want you to think that we had sold our souls. You don't say these things. You simply say, this fellow doesn't know how to work. We don't believe in him. Why are they talking about selling this, that? They are simply saying, what they are saying is, please don't remember us as Bhagwati and Chandrachud. We are different. This is not about judges versus CJI. It is about attack on the institution of judiciary by the executive, by the government of the day, by the ruling party of the day. आप देख रहे हैं पार्लियामेंट में क्या हो रहा है, और आप रोज देख रहे हैं कि मीडिया में क्या हो रहा है. रेस्पॉन्सिबल मीडिया आपने देखा होगा, इररेस्पॉन्सिबल मीडिया देखा होगा. You have all kinds of media in this world. But I have never come across media in this country, or anywhere in the world actually, which makes it principal business to attack opposition all the time. Yesterday, budget is being presented, and you have a channel which says, shouldn't Rahul Gandhi be ashamed of X, Y, Z? I don't remember Rahul Gandhi presenting the budget yesterday. Someone else had presented the budget yesterday. He can be proud, he can be ashamed, but it's about him. It's not about someone else. For the first time, unlike in emergency there was censorship, but you knew there was censorship. When I read newspapers in emergency, I knew these were censored newspapers. The government of the day could prevent newspapers from carrying some news. they could not, or they did not, or they were not smart enough then to get the newspapers to invent stories, to spin stories, to get new things put every day. That's what's happening right now. So let me not get into details of how democracy is being subverted. We hear about it every day. I don't need to even spend 2 minutes talking about how diversity is being throttled in this country. Suffice to say that the largest single minority of this country, the most truly disadvantaged minority of this country, has been reduced to the status of a second-rate citizen without any law being changed. कोई कानून नहीं बदला है, कोई संविधान नहीं बदला है, लेकिन इस देश में संविधान क्या है इसका फैसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं करता है। संविधान क्या है इसका फैसला आपके पुलिस स्टेशन का थानेदार करता है। और अगर आप उस थानेदार के पास जाते हैं और थानेदार का आपसे व्यवहार बदल जाता है, आपके लिए तो संविधान बदल गया। देश के 98% लोगों के लिए तो संविधान उस दिन बदल जाता है जिस दिन थानेदार उनसे कहता है खड़ा हो जा, क्या कर रहा है, जा भाग, तेरा नहीं लिखूंगा रिपोर्ट। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, यू डोंट नीड टू वोट फॉर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट तो उन 2% के लिए जो कि प्रशांत भूषण के कमरे में पहुंच सकते हैं, जो फाली नारिमान के पास जा सकते हैं। बाकी 98% के लिए कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो यही है ना। सो फॉर ऑल प्रैक्टिकल पर्पसेस, Muslims have been reduced to the status of second-rate citizens in this country. I said without changing a piece of law, but don't worry, even the law is being changed now. For the first time, we have a proposal to amend the Citizenship Act of India. And you know what the proposal is? It's there in Rajya Sabha right now. The proposal is to say that any foreigner who comes and seeks asylum in India from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, would be accepted and given citizenship of this country, provided they are Hindu, Sikh, Baudh, and so on, and Jain. So all the Jains who are coming from Bangladesh are welcome. I don't know how many Jains Bangladesh has. All the Sikhs coming from Bangladesh and Pakistan are welcome. What does it mean? It means India is saying for the first time, no Muslims please, thank you. That religion is for the first time being proposed as a condition for citizenship of India. This is two-nation theory back in the country. So we are back to two-nation days. Two-nation theory, except that it's not being proposed by Mr. Jinnah. This time it's being proposed from the other side. On development, again, I don't need to say very much. This is a place where you do development studies. You know what's happening to the idea of development for the last person. The only thing I wish to add is the manner in which, in the brazen manner in which dominant economic interests have been protected now hasn't happened in the history of this country. If you look at how environmental laws have been changed one after another, which basically takes away whatever little protection the weakest in this country had, then you would know what I'm talking about. But as I said, I don't want to do too much siapa. We know we are in a crisis, that there is a simultaneous and vigorous attack like never before on all the three pillars of our republic. The next step is to simply say, this attack has much deeper sanction than we think it has. It is not merely that a ruling party, that those who are in control of the state happen to be unleashing what they are unleashing. ये सिर्फ वो मामला नहीं है कि कोई सत्ता में है, दिमाग खराब हो गया है, पूरे देश के साथ खिलवाड़ कर रहे हैं. ये ऐसा मामला नहीं है. I think we are dealing with something much deeper than that. आप सब सोशल साइंस पढ़ते हैं, आपने हेजेमनी शब्द को सुना होगा. This is what hegemony is about. Hegemony, remember, just a reminder of your MA lessons, hegemony is not just brute power. If you exercise brute power, that's all right. मौका मिलेगा मैं ठीक कर लूंगा. Hegemony is power with legitimacy, dominance with legitimacy. Let us not be under any illusion. आज इस देश पे जिस तरह का हमला है, वो ऐसी फोर्सेस से नहीं है जिनको कोई लेजिटिमेसी नहीं है. मानने में हम सबको दिक्कत होती है. सबसे आसान चीज ये है इस वक्त मैं अगर कह दूं कि पूरी देश की जनता इनके खिलाफ है तो शायद काफी तालियां पिट जाएंगी. लेकिन मैं तालियां सुनने नहीं आया हूं. मैं आपसे कुछ ईमानदारी से बात करने आया. थोड़ा सा बाहर जाइए, सड़क पे बात कीजिए, साधारण लोगों से बात कीजिए, हिंदू मुसलमान के सवाल पे बात कीजिए, आपको काफी कड़वी चीजें सुनने को मिलेंगी. और वो सच है, इस सच से इनकार नहीं करना चाहिए. So we are dealing with the power that is being exercised right now is a mix of three things: electoral political power, coercion, and popularity. It's a deadly mix of these three things. आज की जो सत्ता है, आज इस देश के संविधान को जो खतरा है, उसका जो स्रोत है, वो सिर्फ स्टेट पावर नहीं है. उसमें तीनों अंश हैं. उसमें इलेक्टोरल पॉपुलैरिटी, इलेक्टोरल पावर है, इलेक्टोरल डोमिनेंस. उसमें कोयर्शन, सीधा बाम मरोड़ने की ताकत जो है वो है. और उसमें लेजिटिमेसी, पॉपुलैरिटी, जिसको पब्लिक सैंक्शन है, वो है. इस सच से तीसरा सच सबसे कड़वा सच है और हम सब लोगों को मानने में बड़ी तकलीफ होती है. इट्स ए पेनफुल ट्रूथ, but it's best to acknowledge it so that we can find ways of dealing with it. We're dealing with electoral power, of course, yes. 2014 result, all the elections that have taken place thereafter. I find my friends sometimes saying, no, it's all EVM and so on. I'm afraid it's not. It's not that those who rule this country are above such things. उनका बस चले तो सब कुछ कर सकते हैं, EVM भी कर सकते हैं. But it's only fair to acknowledge that that's not what we are dealing with. So there is electoral power. Today the BJP exercises almost the same kind of electoral dominance that Mrs. Gandhi's Congress exercised through the 80s. Mrs. Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi's Congress exercised through the 80s. The second element is coercion. Coercion मतलब डंडा. डंडा संवैधानिक भी है और स्ट्रीट लुम्पेनिज्म भी है, दोनों है. संवैधानिक डंडा मतलब पहली बार नहीं, शायद इमरजेंसी में भी उसके कुछ हिस्से हुए थे. Constitutional legal authorities are being used for purposes of coercion of public, silencing the voices of dissent. And apart from constitutional institutions being used for that, being misused for that, there is also straightforward street lumpenism, just गुंडागर्दी. और हमेशा हुआ दुनिया में, जब भी इस तरह की डेमोक्रेसी पे ऑनस्लॉट हुए, उसमें वर्दी वाले लोगों का इस्तेमाल हुआ है और बिना वर्दी वालों का इस्तेमाल हुआ है. हमेशा दोनों का कॉम्बिनेशन इस्तेमाल होता है. That's what we are witnessing today. So police, armed forces, all kinds of vigilance authorities are being used. And the lynching that we hear about, about which those in power keep strange silence. हर दूसरे हफ्ते खबर आती है, हर 10 दिन में खबर आती है। ध्यान से लोकल खबरें देखें तो हर दिन खबर आती है, आज यहाँ हो गया, आज उसके घर अटैक हो गया, आज उसको मार दिया, ये कर दिया। ये सब उसका हिस्सा। लेकिन इस इलेक्टोरल डोमिनेंस और कोएर्शन के अलावा एक तीसरी चीज है लेजिटिमेसी। बहुत सारे साधारण लोगों को महसूस होता है कि जो हो रहा है शायद ठीक ही हो रहा है। हो सकता है यहां बैठे हुए हमें महसूस नहीं होता हो, जेएनयू में बैठ के भी ये महसूस नहीं होता, बट देन दीज आर आइलैंड्स। लेट अस नॉट फूल आवरसेल्व्स। We must keep in touch with the world outside these islands. And when you step outside, अपने घर जाइए, रिश्तेदारों से बात कीजिए। हम लोग क्या करते हैं, कई बार ऐसी इंस्टीट्यूशंस में आके अपने घर परिवार से थोड़ा टेंशन हो जाता है। घर जाते हैं तो मम्मी पापा ऐसी बात करते हैं, क्या बात कर रहे हैं आप, छोड़िए ना। फिर उनसे बात बंद हो जाती है पॉलिटिक्स पे। जैसे मेरी सिस्टर कहती थी मेरी कि तेरे से बात करने का कोई फायदा नहीं है, तू तो ऐसे कहेगा ही कहेगा, मुझे पता है तेरे तो ऐसे बोलना ही बोलना है। वो हमसे बात करना बंद कर दें तो चलता है, कुछ देर में हम उनसे सुनना बंद कर देते हैं, हमारे कान अपने समाज से बंद हो जाते हैं। वो नहीं करना चाहिए। वी शुड लिसन टू दैट वेरी केयरफुली। दैट कैजुअल रिलेटिव, बचपन में जो क्लासमेट होता है, अचानक कहीं पे मिल जाता है, बहुत ध्यान से सुनना चाहिए, बिकॉज द सोसाइटी स्पीक्स थ्रू देम टू अस। एंड इफ यू ओपन योर ईयर्स टू दीज कन्वर्सेशंस, you would realize what I'm talking about, which is that the regime actually enjoys some degree of legitimacy. All this is happening. This cannot possibly happen without some legitimacy. That is the real danger. So we are up against hegemonic power. And taking on hegemonic power is not an easy thing. That's what Gramsci's entire theorization is all about. Taking on coercion is tough in terms of sheer grit and determination, but it's conceptually easy. You know what to take on. Taking on hegemony is a different game altogether. और मुझे महसूस होता है कि आज इस खतरे से लड़ने वाले जो हमारे दोस्त हैं, बहुत बहादुर दोस्त हैं, वो ये डिफरेंस करना भूल जाते हैं। They think they are fighting against pure coercive power. They do not realize that they are fighting against hegemony. There are two very different strategies to take them on. मैं बताऊंगा इसका मतलब क्या है। इसका मतलब ये है कि कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमें नहीं करनी चाहिए। अगर if you are up against pure coercive power, you know, there have been regimes where everyone hates the dictator, but the dictator is in power. You know, everyone hates him. There's one way of taking that dictator on. The other is the situation that we are in. And if we handle the first situation with the second kind of equipment, second situation with the first kind of equipment, it won't work. So, the challenge, therefore, so if we know, if we acknowledge that we are up against not just coercive apparatus, but against hegemonic power, then we have to rethink our strategy. What should we do? Let me list quickly what should not be done. 1. Routine anti-Modism. There is a lot of anti-Modism in this country. All of us are given to that. I'm also given to that once in a while. सुबह सुबह अखबार पढ़ते हैं, लगता है कि अच्छा किस चीज पे अटैक करते हैं, किस पे ठीक करते हैं। बहुत फॉरेन जाते हैं। अच्छा बहुत फॉरेन जाते हो, अपने आप को क्या समझते हो, यहाँ के मिनिस्टर हो या फॉरेन के मिनिस्टर हो। यही बात दूसरा करता तो हम अपलॉड कर रहे होते, लेकिन क्योंकि ये कर रहे हैं इसलिए हम इसको अपोज करते हैं। हम तो कर लेते हैं, लेकिन बाहर लोगों को लगता है, as someone said to me, अरे भाई आपका तो धंधा ही है इसको अपोज करना। that is how we look outside. Please remember that. इनका तो धंधा ही है अपोज करना, कोई काम नहीं है, सुबह सुबह उठ के सोचते हैं मोदी को कैसे अपोज किया है. Sorry, this won't work. It's not a good policy anyway, and it won't work. Second, simple trying to gather everyone that happens to be against the ruling party. इसको बहुत बड़े बड़े नाम दिए जा सकते हैं, लेकिन ये opposition unity का जो खेल है कि you happen to be against the person I'm trying to oppose, so you are my friend. बहुत कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है. It has short-term benefits. In the long run, it doesn't work. If your only and only intent is to somehow alter the result of the 2019 Lok Sabha election, then it may have limited benefits. It may. I have doubts, but we can talk about it. But if the object is to take on the onslaught on the foundations of this republic, then this won't work. अगर आप हर तरह की, हिंदी में वो कहते हैं भानुमति का कुनबा जोड़ा, कहीं की ईंट कहीं का रोड़ा, भानुमति ने कुनबा जोड़ा. So gather everyone who happens to be opposed to this fellow that I want to oppose. The result is that you look so unprincipled, and there is no moral ground on which you can stand. And in this moral battle, if you do not stand on a moral ground, there's no hope in hell that you can do anything. Third, what should not, must not be done is to distance ourselves from popular culture. ये बात पता नहीं कितनी मैं समझा पाऊंगा इस स्टेज पे, बाद में मैं इस पे कुछ कहूंगा. होता ये है, मैं एक दूसरा वाकया लेके आपको समझाता हूं. I remember 6 December 1992. I was living in Chandigarh those days, used to teach in a university. For those of you who've seen the city at some stage, I found it so suffocating, that city. Its gentrified nature I found so suffocating that I used to live outside the city, in this tiny little place which was 1 degree above a slum but several notches below a respectable colony. So it was a working class colony in Chandigarh called Daddu Majra. 6 December 1992 happened. I didn't know how to react. Like many fools, I thought nothing would happen to Babri Masjid. रोज ड्रामा करते हैं, एक और दिन ड्रामा करके चले जाएंगे, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But actually demolition took place. And I thought this could well be the end of India as I had seen it. I went to my neighbors. This was sort of curfew in the city. सारे देश में कई शहरों में curfew लग गया था. So curfew in the city. So I go to my neighbors. Who are my neighbors? एक तांगे वाले मेरे नेबर थे, एक सुअर पालते थे वो मेरे नेबर थे, एक कहीं पे ऑफिस में पियोन थे वो मेरे नेबर थे. तो सबसे मैं जाके कहा कि देखो कितना बुरा हुआ. उन्होंने कहा, प्रोफेसर साहब, बड़ी इज्जत करते थे, प्रोफेसर साहब आके हमारे बीच में रह रहे हैं. कहते प्रोफेसर साहब, राम जी का मंदिर यहाँ नहीं बनेगा तो इंग्लैंड में बनेगा क्या? My language of liberalism had no taker. Liberalism, constitution. I wanted to say this is a violation of the sacrosanct commitment made to the Supreme Court of India. Professor साहब इंग्लैंड में बनेगा क्या, और कहाँ बनेगा, क्या हो गया जी? I didn't know how to respond to that. And of course there was something in me which said that, look, which wanted to rebel against this and say, if this is what you believe in, this country is doomed. Next morning, I found an article in Jansatta. It was a front page editorial written by Prabhash Joshi. That article simply said, मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम के नाम पर कलंक. That what happened in Ayodhya yesterday is a blot on the name of Lord Rama. It simply narrated incidents from Lord Rama's life. And every para concluded by saying what happened yesterday was opposite of this. So, that gave me the language to speak to them. And that's a lesson I've not forgotten. I Xerox, those days, you took Xeroxes. I made some 200 Xeroxes, distributed it to people. Not that they got convinced, but at least I could speak to them. So the important thing is never to lose the thread of conversation with ordinary people. The day you lose it, then you should take visa and go somewhere else. The only way of doing democratic politics is never to lose faith in the people. Even when we disagree most violently with them, even when they are sanctifying things which are most horrendous, we have to speak to them. And in order to disagree with someone, we need to continue that thread of conversation. This is what brings me to what is to be done. There are lots of immediate battles that I wouldn't speak at length about. There are 3 critical arenas right now in the country where battles are on. Some very courageous people are fighting those battles. Those battles are worth defending, joining, fighting for. Universities, media, judiciary. These are the last 3 places left in this country where some battle for autonomy can still be waged. I do not talk about universities because I happen to be in university. I must confess my general opinion about what's happening in this university, in the country, in universities in this country is very dim. The manner in which the higher establishment of our university system has surrendered is shameful to say the least. पूरे देश में हो रहा है. जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, बिछ गए, सब बिछे पड़े हैं सामने. And there are universities where in order to decide who you should invite for a normal seminar on Indo-Nepal relations, you have to seek Vice Chancellor's permission. And that is politically vetted. This is what's happening in the country. Judiciary में क्या हो रहा है, मीडिया में क्या हो रहा है, मगर तीनों जगह अभी स्ट्रगल बाकी है. तो ये स्ट्रगल लड़ने की है, बहुत बड़ी लड़ाई है, लेकिन ये डे टू डे स्ट्रगल, इसलिए मैं इस पर बहुत बोलूंगा नहीं. हो सकता है हमारा 60% टाइम इसी में लगे, लगाना चाहिए, लेकिन उस पर सोचने की बात नहीं है. स्ट्रगल आपकी आंख के सामने है, आप लड़ रहे हैं, लड़ना चाहिए. मीडियम टर्म में क्या स्ट्रगल्स? In the medium run would mean next 2-3 years. There are 2 big sources of resistance. If we want to reverse this onslaught on the idea of Indian Republic, the 2 real sources of resistance right now are farmer struggles and the struggle of the youth. I do not mean to underestimate all other struggles. I'm not saying there are no other struggles. But for various reasons, which I cannot go into right now, politically, these are the ones which are going to make difference. देश के किसानों में आज जिस किस्म की बेचैनी है और जिस किस्म का दबा हुआ गुस्सा है, वो इस देश को बचा सकता है. गुस्सा कई बार बहुत खूबसूरत चीज होती है, वो गुस्सा बचा सकता है. और जब यूनिवर्सिटीज में मेरे जैसे सफेद बाल वाले प्रोफेसरान को सरकार अपने अंगूठे के नीचे दबा के रखे हुई है, यूथ को दबा नहीं पा रही है. उनको अंगूठे के नीचे रखती है और फिसल के बाहर निकल जाते हैं. These are the two real sources of hope in this country. When I look at the next 15 months, when I look at the next 2 years, these are the two sources that I look for. What's happening there? And these are the two struggles worth joining. अगर कुछ भी करना है, मैं बहुत दोस्तों को कहता हूँ, इधर उधर की चीज़ों में वक्त ज़ाया ना कीजिए. These are the two struggles which should be politically. So someone says, what about Dalit struggle? Of course it's important. It will change the shape of both these. The farmers' movement has to be a Dalit farmers' movement. The farmers' movement has to keep women farmers in the front. But politically, these are the two biggest hopes for our republic in the next 15-20 months. But I want to look beyond 20 months. Because as I said, the challenge to the republic is not an accident. It is not that just a bad accident happened in this country in 2014. And let's forget it, ठीक ठाक हो ही जाएगा. Unfortunately, that's how much of the opposition is reacting. That's not true. There's something much deeper here. And in order to take on that deeper thing, there are 3 long-term battles that we have to take on. 3 arenas need to be recovered. And we are where we are. We are in this sorry state today because we have lost these 3 battles. Unfortunately, these 3 battles cannot be won in the next 15 months. Cannot be won in the next 2 years. Maybe it's at least next 10 years. Doesn't matter who's in power. Doesn't matter who in 2019. This challenge is here to stay. And we have to fight these 3 battles. Basically, we need to recover the legacy of nationalism. We need to recover something of our religious languages. We need to recover traditions. We have lost all these 3 battles in the last 50 years. And it is because we lost these 3 battles that we are in this situation where those who did not shed one drop of blood for the freedom of this country can claim to be the inheritors of nationalism in this country. Those who have, my blood boils when I think of it. There were days, I spoke to someone in Gujarat the other day. And he said, बेटा और मैं नहीं जानता, मेरे पिताजी ने कहा था, इन लोगों ने गांधी की हत्या की है, इनसे कभी छूना मत इनको. This was the day in this country. And today they can claim to be inheritors of nationalism of this country. What a shame. Not on them. Shame on us. What have we done to this nationalism? We are should have been the proud inheritors of one of the most open liberal nationalisms of this universe. Our nationalism is not European nationalism. It is not racist nationalism. It is not inward-looking nationalism. It is not jingoist nationalism. Our nationalism is where someone who composed our national anthem thought nationalism was a very bad idea. He could write a book against nationalism. And we remember him as the greatest nationalist icon, Rabindranath Tagore. He wrote against nationalism. Yet he is our greatest national icon. We are inheritor of the most liberal, the most rich, the most open-ended nationalism in this universe. And we've given up on it. On religion, I really think, I honestly think, I know there are many friends who disagree, and please express your disagreement. I think giving up on languages of religions, not taking religion and religious languages, not taking religious beliefs seriously, is one of the cardinal sins of secular politics in this country. We are guilty, we are criminals. I do not say religion. This country is proud inheritor of several religions. All of them are our religions. But tell me, what is it What is it that I wish to say as a feminist for which I cannot invoke Basavanna? What is it that I wish to say as a socialist for which I cannot invoke Nanak? It's there in my tradition. It's there in these religions. By not taking religion seriously, we have reduced secularism to the belief of the atheist. An ideology of atheism has a place in this country, has a legitimate place in this country. But an ideology of atheism cannot rule this country, cannot rule the hearts and minds of this country. They can be the ruler of this country. But you really need a much deeper engagement with religion. And it is because of non-engagement with religion, because of non-engagement with Hinduism, I will name a religion. It's non-engagement with Hinduism which has resulted in one of the worst crimes being perpetrated in the name of Hinduism. We are guilty. And finally, traditions. I've partly covered it here. But dealing with popular culture and traditions, unfortunately, beginning with languages, those people like us that I'm addressing here today are trapped in English language. लिखते भी इंग्लिश में हैं, पढ़ते भी इंग्लिश में हैं, सोचते भी इंग्लिश में। इस देश के 100 बड़े इंटेलेक्चुअल से अगर मैं पूछ लूं, when was the last time you read a full book in any language other than English? When was the last time you wrote one full page, one A4 size page in a language other than English? I think that would disqualify about 80 out of 100 top intellectuals of this country. देश के 98% लोग, 99% लोग जो भाषा बोलते हैं, भाषा आप बोलते नहीं हैं, और फिर आप सोचते हैं कि लोग आपकी बात क्यों नहीं सुन रहे? आप इंग्लैंड में जाके फ्रेंच बोलना शुरू कीजिए. This is what's happening in India is classic Russia of the 19th century. The Russian elite, as you know, used to speak French. They wouldn't speak Russian. And they wondered why these people don't quite understand them. Honestly, this is the case with much of the secular, liberal, progressive elite of our country. They're so cut off. ना तो उनकी भाषा सुनते हैं, ना उनकी भाषा पढ़ते हैं, ना उनकी भाषा लिखते हैं. फिर क्यों हम हैरान हैं? So beginning with language, but language for me is not literally language, Hindi, English, Bengali, and so on. So it's language as metaphor. We don't speak, we don't experience the world in the metaphors that ordinary people of this country experience. उस traditions में नहीं सोचते. और इस देश के traditions में इतना कुछ है जो महान है. अब मेरा कोई साथी खड़ा होकर कहेगा कि बहुत कुछ कूड़ा भी है. हाँ है. कौन सा दुनिया का ट्रेडिशन होता है जिसमें कूड़ा नहीं होता? दुनिया की कौन सी नदी होती है जिसके अंदर कूड़ा नहीं आता? कूड़ा आता है, पर आप नदी का पानी पीना बंद थोड़ी कर देते हो क्योंकि कूड़ा है उस नदी में. कूड़ा साफ करते हो, नदी से पानी पीते हो. That's how we need to deal with traditions. There's a lot of nonsense in our traditions like everywhere else. There's a lot of bakwas in our religions like every religion of this world. Clear it up, but drink from it. So to my mind, these are 3 deep, long-term cultural battles to be fought. I'm already graying. And the easiest thing in the world for someone who's graying is to believe that the world was golden in those lovely days when I used to be young. And things have, ab to bas kuch bacha hi nahi. The town where I grew up was on the borders of Pakistan. And the most, the most touching expression used to be, "Ota reh gaya ji Pakistan." We've left that behind in Pakistan. So that sort of nostalgia is very common at the age where I am. But let me be honest. The fact is that my generation and the generation just above me is guilty. We have let this republic down. Honestly. I'm glad Professor Parasuraman is nodding his head. I really feel my generation and the generation of my father started teaching in 1952, so just after partition. These generations have let this country down. I don't want you to do this. We inherit a great country. We face one of the biggest onslaughts in this country. In order to save it, it's not just pure courage. Yes, we need courage. We need good heart. We need to think. We need to relate to that great tradition, the great civilization of which we are the proud inheritor. I'm sure your generation will not let us down. Thank you.